We're shifting our attention now to the recent tragic incident that happened in Obazagbon community, which has drawn significant attention due to the brutal murder of Mr. Efe Obedi. He's actually a physically challenged site engineer. The community in question has been experiencing a violent leadership crisis, leading to property destruction and, of course, loss of lives. Now, on the day of the incident, gunmen invaded the area, prompting others to flee for their lives. But because of his hearing impairment, Mr. Obedi was unaware of what was going on and he was unable to escape. So he was shot dead right there on the spot. Civil society organizations, of course, including the Edo State Civil Society Organization and the Network for the Advancement of People with Visible Disability, have condemned the killing and are demanding justice. With me in the studio is Barrister Melody Omasa, the Executive Director of NAPVID, to give more insight to the incident and, of course, to help us make sense of the vulnerabilities faced by individuals with disabilities, especially in conflict-prone areas. I also have Kingsley Eromosele in the building, as well as a wonderful lady that is here, of course, interpreting for you. I'll start off with Barrister Melody. Looking at this issue briefly, just highlight the challenges that persons with disabilities go through on a daily basis.
All right, thank you very much for having me this morning. And most often we take for granted what persons with disabilities go through. And every now and then we come in contact face to face with our disability because of barriers in society. All right, the incident that you mentioned now that happened last Thursday, Efe Obedi came face to face with death, and indeed his life was cut short at the spur of the moment because of his hearing impairment. When gunmen invaded the community, those who were on site working said they heard sporadic gunshots at close range, so they took to their heels. But because he could not hear, he was in his vehicle, because he was a site engineer, in his vehicle, only to raise his head moments later, they were already with him. And that's how he was shot dead. Now, that community, I understand, has been plagued by leadership crisis for some time. And a number of persons have been gone dead, have been cut off, killed in that very brutal and dastardly act. I think it's time for security agents to go to work and put a stop to this. Efe Obedi's death is particularly painful because he is a married man, a breadwinner, of a hearing impaired wife also, with 2 children. What now becomes of the fate of the woman that has suddenly turned widow, and the children? What becomes of them? It's important that security needs to be maintained. It would have been understandable, even though not excusable, that it just happened. But I understand that the crisis has been on for some time. Yes. And when we live in a crisis situation, persons with disabilities are more affected. Yes, it happened and it's Efe now. It could have been any other person with disability. If you are on a wheelchair and there's an emergency situation, you cannot easily get out because those who are on their feet will scamper for safety. You become a victim. If you are visually impaired, the same fate will befall you. And that's what we have seen happen right now. Apart from the fact that crisis situations have the potential of maiming people in society and making them become people with disability if in the process they do not lose their lives. So this is why we are charging security agents to go to work and ensure first that those who have committed this dastardly act be brought to justice.
Let's turn our attention to Mr. Kingsley Eromosele. This young man, Mr. Obedi, he's married, he has children, and he was still, despite his hearing impairment, trying his best to make a living and, of course, take care of his family. I'm aware that there have been calls for justice, okay, regarding the murder of Mr. Obedi. Do you think the relevant authorities have responded to your demands so far for justice concerning this incident?
Thank you very much. As of now, we're told yesterday that just 3 persons have been arrested.
Okay.
Those 3 persons are suspect. We are not sure whether they are the killers or not. The deaf community, we are begging that they want to know if they are truly those that killed Efe Ogbede or not. The deaf community have been so sad since on Friday. They have not been happy over this incident. They are aware that Obazagbon community have been at war over the years. But because they are deaf, they don't have accessibility to information. They are not aware. This is why they have been begging for accessibility to information. There should be sign language interpreters on television during news so that they can have access to information. They are totally cut off. When things happen, they are not aware, and now see Efe has gone. Right now, the deaf are afraid to acquire landed property. If they acquire, hearing people will take it from them. The deaf, he himself bought a land. He has a personal experience, and it was taken from him. He lost his father 5 months ago, and now he doesn't have any place to bury his father. And also other deaf have similar experiences. Government should please provide security for persons with disabilities so that the state can be safe for them to live. The state is for every one of us. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kingsley made a very, very valid point as regards the fact that interpreters should be put on television stations and if possible on radio stations to of course give such information when it occurs. If for peradventure he had heard about the crisis in that community, he may have been on his toes trying his best to look out and take care of himself, and if possible have someone there to also help him, alert him in case of any situations that crop up. Barrister Melody, apart from that valid point that Mr. Kingsley actually raised, what other measures do you think that government can actually put in place to assist those with visible disabilities?
Okay, first to say that the security and welfare of the citizenry by our constitution is the primary responsibility of government. Okay, so when we have safe society, it's safe for persons with disabilities also. When the reverse is the case, persons with disabilities are the first victim of that, like I enunciated a while ago. It's important that government provide security for persons with disability. Also to stress that the Constitution guarantees freedom of information at no cost. So the point Kingsley Oromosele, who incidentally is the chairman of Edo State's Association of the Deaf, the point he is making is that they need not suffer because of lack of information, which government, which the Constitution has already guaranteed to all citizens to come to them at no cost. I see a huge gap and disservice being done to the community of deaf persons, in particular in Nigeria, in that they are in their millions, more than 4 million hearing and clinically deaf persons we have in Nigeria have no means of knowing what is happening around them because government that is charged in disseminating information do not have a way of bringing them on. You don't, like he mentioned, there are no sign language interpreters. The governor goes out, the president goes out, talks to Nigerians, there are no sign language interpreters. Why should they be left out? Somebody must be assigned to the president of this nation. Somebody must be assigned to the governor. Somebody must be assigned to public officials that anything you do, it must be made accessible to all. We are all part of the, we are all Nigerians. And so nothing should be left undone that will not be part of it. Everything should be done to ensure that there's inclusivity in the way government disseminates its information. Like he mentioned, if Ogbede and the deaf community were aware that that zone is a troubled zone, he may not have been a victim today.
Thank you so much, Barrister Melody. But before I let you go, finally, has NAPVID ever made any attempts to reach out to relevant authorities as regards this issue of having sign language interpreters on air and in every public parastatal as well?
Oh, it's a repeated advocacy that NAPVID has been on for quite a while. We have been sustaining the tempo for having interpreters in public infrastructure, public services,
Yes.
the government, the hospitals. You imagine that a hearing impaired person goes to the hospital. What is the diagnosis? How is he going to communicate with the health officials to even for him to be diagnosed in the first place? We have laws in these countries, but those laws need to be implemented. At the center, we have the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act. In Edo State, we have the Edo State Persons with Disability Law. All these laws need to be enforced. And when they are implemented, persons with disability, especially our brothers and sisters with hearing impairment, will be carried along. It is important that sign language interpreters are provided. All government-owned stations should start by having sign language interpreters in their station. And that will be followed soon by privately owned communication outfit. And government must lead by example. Have sign language interpreters so that they can disseminate whatever information you have for the citizens. We will sustain the advocacy. And what has happened to Efe has brought this to fore, that there is a need, and urgently too, for persons with hearing impairment to be made to be part of the society.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Melody. Thank you Mr. Kingsley Museli, and of course, Cynthia, for being here this morning to talk about this and, of course, bring out the salient issues that are worth looking into. I really do hope that relevant authorities and the government at all levels would take this matter really seriously to avoid such sad incidents from taking place in future.